Welcome to episode 43 of the Last Row podcast. My name is Drew, and I'm joined by my very good friend across the room, Mr. Badway.
Have you been working on your radio voice?
I've been working on it.
That sounded like a radio host. Hi, welcome to the Last Row podcast.
You know, Handsome Dan on the Last Row podcast. Hey.
Don't let me stop you. Please go on.
Visit our website if you're looking for us, thelastrowpodcast.com, on the Twitter at the Last Row Pod, Facebook.com/The Last Row Pod, Google+, Google Play Music, and most importantly, iTunes. If you're enjoying the show, please head out, leave us a 5-star review. It would be very much appreciated. What's going on, Badway?
Listen, you talk about Facebook. I'm not seeing a lot of activity on the Facebook feed. All right? So my question to you, dear listeners, is please just give us a like a pity like. Just like a thing, and maybe another friend will see it, and they'll come and they'll listen to the show too.
You know what a good thing is? If you have a friend and if you're on Facebook and you listen to us and you haven't liked our page, head out. Please like it. Facebook.com/The Last Row Pod. If you have a friend that you think might like our podcast, show them our Facebook page. I think we have like 150 some likes. We could use some more.
It doesn't take a lot of effort. If you like our show, just please do us a solid and just like or even share.
Are we
all
begging?
You gotta do.
Are we beggars right now?
Yeah, I'm just begging for a like. Can I get one like? Give me a like.
I think I'll be happy if we get one like this week.
Yeah, Julio likes us.
Yeah. We got
our good man Julio. He's like him and Ty are like the only ones that like our Facebook for the most part.
Thank you to everybody that has given us a like on Facebook. Yeah. If you haven't, please go ahead and do it. But what did we watch this week, Badway?
So we took in Suicide Squad over the weekend. And
did you commit suicide afterwards from how bad it was?
Well, you know, a couple more superhero movies that I might, but usually I do the intro to these movies, but you know what the hell's going on. Why don't you tell the dear listeners what Suicide Squad is all about?
Suicide Squad is, I don't know, should I do it in Amanda Waller's thing? It's basically the baddest of the bad villains in DC Universe, getting them together, Task Force X, going to use them as patsies, to use Will Smith's words. Basically, you need to send in somebody, you send in these guys in, and they can basically take the fall for the whole thing if something goes wrong.
You say baddest of the bad.
Yes.
So Deadshot,
baddest of the bad.
Boomerang Man.
Yes. Captain Boomerang.
Harley Quinn.
Yes.
And Flame Guy.
El Diablo. Yes.
I like the name El Diablo, actually. So those are the baddest of the bad, or those are the off to the side characters that would make a good team. So who are we following here?
So let me tell you this. You played Batman, the Arkham games, right?
Yes.
Deadshot is he's the deadliest assassin outside of Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke.
Yeah.
So Deadshot never misses a shot unless he does on purpose.
Yeah.
He is truly one of the baddest of the bad.
Yeah.
I would say El Diablo. I honestly didn't know too much about this character going in, and I call myself a generally regular comic book fan.
Yeah.
Didn't know too much about some of the fringe characters. I do know about Captain Boomerang.
Killer Croc is very fringe, all the Batman scale.
But that's the beauty of the Suicide Squad. It's kind of like the Avengers in that it's a rotating cast of characters, and if somebody dies, then you just put somebody else in. Right? And that's kind of the point, right? So that's what makes it interesting, and I think maybe future installments of this, if it makes it that far, could possibly have a new cast of characters, which would be cool.
I mean, I'm just joking. I thought it was a fine collection.
It's a good question.
Yeah, you can't put the Joker in the Suicide Squad. He's not going to play well with others.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a good question, right?
Two-Face is not going to play well with others.
So what'd you think of the story, just overall? Like, did you like the concept of it?
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Villains.
Yeah, I like the concept of villains. I tend to gravitate towards the villains more than the heroes in these movies. Not that I want them to win or anything, but they're generally more interesting characters for the most part.
Do you think this movie is... I'm just going to go here, okay?
All right.
Do you think it's worthy of the criticism that it's receiving to the degree that it's receiving it?
Well, I don't want to get into the...
Talking about fruits that might rot.
I don't want to get into criticisms. I don't want to criticize the critics. You know, that's like... You know, that's weird.
You should see Badway's face when I almost mentioned a certain fruit.
Yeah. All right. So no, it wasn't as bad as people said it was, right?
I don't think it was. Personally,
all the negative reviews it was getting, I thought it was a very enjoyable movie.
Let me give you some criticisms. I'm just going to spew them out. You tell me whether you think it was true or false.
All right.
Choppy editing.
False.
Terrible use of music.
False, but some of it seemed a little misplaced.
Okay, fair.
The songs that were played I enjoyed them mostly. I just felt like sometimes I felt out of place.
Terrible use of flashbacks.
No, I like the flashbacks. Probably the best parts of the movie.
Okay. So those were the three. Yeah. Those are the three biggest criticisms that you're going to see floating on the interwebs these days.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that Jared Leto was awful.
Yeah, that's false too.
And I disagree with that inherently as well. So I personally, I don't think this deserves the hate that it's receiving. I mean, it's receiving some visceral hate, like worst movie of all time, worse than Batman, Superman from a fan standpoint. I have been very vocal about this since March. I enjoyed Batman v Superman. Don't think it's the greatest movie ever. Still think the Dark Knight movies are a lot better, but I enjoyed it. This one, I had a hell of a lot of fun with this movie. I'm just going to be straight up with that. It was a fun movie.
Yeah, this is getting lumped into the Batman vs Superman kind of tidal wave, I guess. And I don't really see the reason why. It's a very different movie than Batman vs Superman. It's more fun. I thought the director kind of took a step back in this one, whereas Batman vs Superman was very
like it had Zack Snyder's fingerprints on it.
Very Zack Snyder-y, right? Yeah. And whether you love him or hate him, and I like him, but it did seem to get a little too Zack Snyder-y. As this one, as David Ayer just kind of like took a step back and kind of like he just kind of made the movie, and it seemed very safe. But that kind of sounds like a negative connotation, but it's not. He seemed to play it very safe.
So what you're saying is he didn't get in the way of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And Zack Snyder maybe used a little too much slow-mo.
Yeah, he put a little too much Snyder. It is soup there.
But I think, with this movie specifically, I don't think that it was good or bad. I think it was a very fun movie. Like, I don't think it was a great movie, and I don't think it was a bad movie. And I'm really just confused by the amount of people that think it's a very bad movie. Like, I just don't get it. I don't know. It's it seems very polarizing.
It was very, I'll break it down in a nutshell for you. It was very well acted. It set up the characters really well, all of the characters. The story was kind of weak, and it did, like, the main story as far as, like, the goal at the end, defeating the bad guys, the villains, didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I was confused a little bit in that area. The final battle was kind of weak. You likened it to like a Ghostbusters type thing. Like, it seemed like a Ghostbusters villain. But having said all that, like, it was enjoyable all the way through.
You said this to me before, and we talked about this a little bit, but it reminded you of the type of movie that if it was on TV, you would stop and watch it all the time, right?
Yeah, for all the negativity it's getting, I feel like this is the type of movie, if it's on TNT or FX or HBO, you're flipping channels, you could stop on this movie and watch a scene or watch from 45 minutes on to the end.
You said something that I want to go back to because it did really remind me, and as the movie was going, and I just want to give the disclaimer here, we are going to be talking about spoilers, so if you haven't seen this and you don't want to know things, come back to it after you've seen the movie.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though, there weren't too many.
No.
There's not really a way to spoil this movie.
The only thing that you could spoil is they did not advertise who the villain was. They didn't advertise who it was.
Yeah, but the spoiler and all this, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Who cares?
And that's the point. And even the YouTube reviews that I was reading, basically they were saying, like, I'm going to tell you who the villain is. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You won't know him.
I went in wanting to not know who it was. I knew it wasn't going to be the Joker. I just knew.
Yeah.
But getting back to my point, what I want to say is, it reminded me a lot of what I would expect from Ghostbusters 2016. I didn't see the movie. I wish we could have. I would like to see it. Uh-huh. It reminded me sort of like the original Ghostbusters from the villain doesn't matter standpoint. Who the hell cares what Gozer is or who Gozer is? It doesn't matter. It's kind of a team movie. It's about Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd. This is about the team. It's about Deadshot. It's about Harley Quinn. It's about Will Smith. And it's about the characters and the actors more so than the sum of all the parts. And maybe that means it's a bad movie. I don't know. But I was very entertained. Like, I'm not going to say it was the greatest movie ever because it wasn't.
What you're describing is a movie that has flaws but can generally be entertaining if you're not a dick about it.
And what gets lost on me, and I don't really understand this, and maybe it's just the polarizing internet, just the phenomena of the internet, and we talked about this in the Dawn of Hate episode we did like 15 episodes, 20 episodes ago. What happened to like just enjoying a movie and not having to talk about how it's the worst movie ever? Like the clickbait articles for this one were like off the charts bad. Like I remember seeing one on one of the tech blogs. It was like, this is a terrible movie, but you know what? Who cares? So is 2016. This fits perfectly in 2016. It's like things like that, or things like, if you like this movie, you hate good quality cinema.
Well, you said it. It's clickbait. It's like people try to get article clicks. That's all it is.
It's just interesting though, because I feel like at some point in maybe the evolution of the internet, we forgot how to just enjoy things on the surface and say, you know what, it was entertaining. And that's kind of what we do with this podcast. We don't crap all over a movie. We poke fun at it, but we enjoy everything.
Deep down in the recesses of the internet, there is the river of slime. It's flowing. It's always flowing.
The slime is like, it's like coming out of the sewer for this one, man. It's coming out of the sewer. Like, you know, they jumped out and they're in their like wetsuits and they're covered in the slime. The hate for this one, I asked you before, but like, I didn't expect it to be this like intense. I expected this movie to be like 50%. 50% of people liked it. 50% thought it was not great. But I did not expect it to be like as much as it is.
Yeah, I don't know. So it wasn't ruining any childhood, so I don't understand.
Sure.
But whatever.
So kind of on that theme, and I know we need to move on. I'm lingering on that topic too much. What were some things that you did like about it? And then we'll talk about what were some of the things that you didn't like about it. So talk about what you liked first.
I'll go first in no particular order. I like the introduction of all the characters. Like we talked about, I didn't know a lot about a lot of these characters. I know Harley Quinn. I didn't know much about Deadshot, played by Will Smith. Brilliantly, I might add. Killer Croc, I knew him from one episode of an episode of Batman the Animated Series. El Diablo, no clue who he is. Boomerang had no clue who he is. The leader of the
Rick Flag,
not Rick Flag, the woman.
Oh, Amanda Waller.
Amanda Waller, Viola Davis.
Yeah,
I had no idea who that was. Like, she was introduced very well. She's kind of like a villain in her own right, even though she's like she's on the good guy's side, but she's very villainous at what she does in this movie. Everything was set up very, very well. It was very well done. The Joker was another thing I loved. People are going to be very polarized. There's a very polarizing character, whether because he had like the chains, he had the tattoos on his face,
damaged.
Yeah, he was a lot more serious than other Jokers, and you know where I'm getting at with that.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I thought he did a great job. Maybe I'm a Leto head. I enjoy a lot of Leto's work.
I want to come back to the Joker in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So just let that marinate for a minute, because I do want to talk about that.
We'll do a segment on the Joker. So, and other than that, I enjoyed the acting. I thought Will Smith was great in it. I thought Margot Robbie was great in it. Jai Courtney didn't have a lot to do, like acting wise, but he did okay. Shout out to Jay Hernandez. Was probably my favorite actor in this movie. Like my favorite performance, I should say.
Yeah.
Because I never really paint Jay Hernandez as a great actor. Like, he does good work in what he does.
Sure.
But I thought he had a lot of emotional weight in his character in this movie, and he really knocked it out of the park. He did a great job.
So what were some of the things that you didn't like?
Well, the ending, the final battle, which I feel like a lot of movies, the final battle these days are kind of weak.
Yeah.
The main villains, I didn't really care about them, and they looked very, like you said, Ghostbuster-y to me.
Yeah.
I don't call it a dislike, but it's more of a disappointment. But I kind of expected it, that there was so little of the Joker in the movie. Like, he was maybe in like 15, 20 minutes worth of the movie.
Yeah, but let me say this about that, and we'll come back to it in a second, but he was in it more than I expected based on what I read. Yeah. Like, going into it, I thought, okay, he might not be in it that much. And then I started reading some reviews, like non-spoiler reviews before we watched it, that said like, oh, get ready to see everything you've seen in the trailer. That's it. It's it. Like, and I expected, oh man, he must be in this for only like a minute, you know? And he was in it more than I expected based on my recalibration of expectations, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. And I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to articulate this point, but I'm going to try to do it without sounding like a hater. But I thought, and I'm not trying to nitpick here, but I thought like them gathering as a team, the Suicide Squad, like that was when the movie took a bit of a dull turn for me. I liked it when...
You like the lead up?
Yeah, the lead up, them talking about like trying to get out of there, and like also like the flashback scenes were all great, but when they actually formed as a team and actually like took out the main villain and all that, like I thought that's when the movie kind of took like a little bit of a dull pitch. And maybe that's what they're talking about with the switch in direction or the editing cuts that were kind of like much maligned.
Right.
Maybe that's where it was, and maybe I got the feeling for that. Like, it didn't kill the movie for me, but I felt like it definitely...
You felt a shift.
I felt like, not so much a shift, but I felt like a shift in my feelings towards the movie, so to speak.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't as like glaring as, oh wow, they definitely edited that differently.
Yeah.
But it definitely... I enjoyed the first 2/3 of the movie better. We had a friend that say that, and I can see where he's coming from there.
Well, I think, and to that point, I think the second, or at least maybe the second half or the last third of the
Maybe
movie.
The third act, yeah.
The third act of the movie definitely felt a little weaker because it's like what we said before. It felt like a Ghostbusters kind of villain, the supernatural type thing, where it felt a little out of place. But I kind of go back to it and I struggle because with Ghostbusters, like we said, it's more of like a team movie. And I think you almost don't want a villain, and maybe this is just me being stupid.
Yeah.
In a weird way, maybe you want the best villain ever. So if I'm picking the best villain for the next movie, I'm picking Deathstroke. It should be Deathstroke, and that would be freaking awesome.
Do Deathstroke and Deadshot have a history together?
Not that I'm specifically aware of.
It seems like they would, because they seem to have the same profession.
Yes, I mean Slade Wilson's like professional killer too.
But they're not like who is who, like this is me being ignorant to.
Okay.
Who is so Deadshot is in the Batman universe.
Well, they're all
correct?
in the DC universe, but Deadshot is.
But like who would Deadshot be in a comic against?
So I guess it could be it would. It's been in Batman before. He's been in Batman before, but I don't know if it's specifically.
But he
Batman.
can't show up with the Flash or whatever.
Oh, he could show up anywhere, really. Any of these
Deathstroke?
guys could. Deathstroke could show up anywhere, but he's typically a Titans villain, like a Teen Titans villain.
Okay.
He was in the second season of Arrow, which was really awesome.
Okay.
He was awesome in Arrow. Like that was when the show was really good.
That's when it was hot. Yeah.
Yeah, I still recommend that you watch it. That season was awesome.
Yeah,
and
it's probably not gonna
the villain, the guy who plays Deathstroke is very good.
Yeah.
But I guess like that's where I would go. And I feel like to get back to the point I wanted to make, this villain didn't take away from the team. And that helps and hurts the movie simultaneously, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't hurt the movie because it gave you more of an emphasis on the team, and it wasn't like a villain that stole the show. But maybe you want a villain that steals the show because that's the best movie possible. But again, this is like, it reminds me of more like a popcorn flick.
But that's what turned The Dark Knight from a really good movie to a great movie. Was Heath Ledger, the Joker.
Right.
So Heath Ledger stole the spotlight from everyone, but it wasn't on purpose. It just happened organically.
Yes. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't want the best villain possible. I'm saying that because it wasn't there, it didn't hurt the movie, but it didn't help the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. It stopped it from being great, but at the same time, when you're introducing these characters, there's a lot to introduce.
Yes.
So you kind of want the Suicide Squad to be the main
focus.
attraction, which maybe is probably why there's so little Joker in this movie as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
But that's kind of that's the point I'm trying to make, you know? Like, one of the criticisms of Batman v Superman was that there was too much going on. You could maybe argue that with this, but I would argue against it because I think the flashbacks were used to build the story and to build the characters, and the Joker stuff was kind of intertwined. It was like a dueling storyline, but there wasn't that like Lois Lane going to get a bullet, analyzed. There wasn't the Lex Luthor trying to come up with his own plan. Meanwhile, you have Wonder Woman doing an investigation and Batman's doing this, and there was a lot less of the multiple threads going on. You know what I'm saying? See,
but I thought the one lazy thing was the build up to the main villain was the Enchantress or whatever.
Right.
Her name is
Yes,
Enchantress.
Enchantress, yeah.
So I never...
June Moon.
Yeah, I didn't fully understand how she could turn from witch to non-witch, if she could control it. So the one time where she actually got help from like the Enchantress's brother.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know like how like that's controlled.
I wasn't.
Can she not? Can the human version of that girl not control it?
So that wasn't clear to me too. And to be truthful, I don't know too much about Enchantress, the character from the comics.
Yeah.
But I thought what was interesting was, and maybe this is just analyzing the character. I think because Amanda Waller had the heart.
Yeah.
Enchantress, the witch, was actually like scared, so she kind of just did what they said because she was afraid.
Oh, so she's always there, but she knows that she's like. Put in check because the heart was
and the way that I looked at it as once June Moon is herself, she can flip back, but maybe the fact that Enchantress knew she had a chance to get her brother back or something.
Yeah.
This is where we like it kind of lost me a little bit too.
Yeah, it was a very like confusing part of the movie for me.
Right.
So, okay, I'm glad that I'm not the only one.
Yeah. No, and I just kind of like forgot about it when it happened, but I was thinking the same thing. It wasn't very clear, and that kind of brings me up to another point. I read an article on Collider. There was a guy on Reddit who put together, it was like either a novelization of the movie, like, how the book usually comes out, it's a novelization of the script and all that stuff, somehow also had some type of insight into the original script. And the original cut, or the rumored original script, was that the movie started out with June Moon going into the cave versus introduction of all the characters and Deadshot. And it made more sense, I guess, from that cut, where you getting introduced to the character, there was a little bit more of a lengthy scene where it explained a little bit more. That's what I was reading. We'll post the link in the show notes. It's just a fascinating read if you enjoyed the movie or you didn't enjoy the movie and you want to see what it might have been. But I don't know if that would have made it better or worse. I really don't know. I mean, I kind of liked how they did it, personally.
Yeah. Another thing, the final battle, this joke's been around and it's obvious. Like, why does every movie have to have a beam towards the sky?
I knew you were going to say that.
Right?
I knew you were going to say that.
Like, they did it. And, like, every movie does that.
Yeah.
And they freaking did it again. Don't they know by now? Like, can't you do something different?
See, that's what reminded me specifically of Ghostbusters. Like, I thought,
that happens, like, in every superhero movie, every, like, supernatural movie. There's always a beam to the sky that's going to swallow the earth.
It was stupid. And let's be real. Like, the last third of the movie wasn't really that good. It just wasn't.
No,
and that's, I think maybe that's where audiences were lost. But it didn't ruin the movie for me. And I mean, people know, you guys listen to this show, everybody that's listening, they know what kind of movies I like. I like everything. I like bad movies. I like quote unquote bad movies. So it's not a great movie by any means. And the last third was certainly one of the weakest I've seen in a while.
Sure.
But I still liked it. You know, it was fun. It was very cliche, though. Very cliche.
Because it's when the Suicide Squad turned from, like, you forgot they were villains in a way, right?
Because they kind of, like, were doing the heroic thing.
Yeah, and it's like the part of the dynamic that made them good. And even in battles leading up to the final act was they were still badasses. You know, they were still kind of dicks, but they were doing it because they had to. Whereas the final act, they were doing it because they wanted to in a little bit of a way.
Let's talk a little bit about the team dynamic. You know, one of the complaints that people had said was, I wish there was a little bit more infighting between the team members.
Yeah.
Did you think they got along too well from the beginning? From like when they started, they built this team and then all of a sudden they're all friends?
They kind of did, yeah.
I don't know if you have time, though, to have everybody fighting with each other.
Like, I don't know how far you can go with a conflict in like a 90 or 120-minute movie.
The furthest they got, I guess, was Jay Hernandez, El Diablo, not using his powers.
Yeah,
and like him looking like he wasn't a team member.
But that was his own, he was in his own head. It had nothing to do with hating other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of, like, did you think that they put too much of an emphasis on Deadshot or Harley Quinn?
No, because you can't do it for all. But so, Boomerang seems like a one-note character to me. So he was kind of there for comic relief, I felt, in a way. Who was that? That was Jai Courtney.
Jai Courtney.
He did a good job, but like he didn't have much to do. And I feel like if he had more to do, it might have been a little disjointing because you only have so much time, right?
Yeah.
And Killer Croc's another thing where it seems like he could have a little bit more emotional weight to his character, but there wasn't enough time. There's no time. Like he seemed to have kind of like a self-esteem mental issue with his looks, and like you could probably draw a lot from that because he's like a real human, but he looks like a beast, and they treat him like a beast, right? They throw him in the sewer, this and that. You could really build that story out. I feel like you get a lot out of that, but there's no time for that either.
Yeah. And I read there was a thing about that, actually, like more of a flashback with him, like growing up or something. That was part of the script, but they cut that out.
There could be a lot of emotional weight to that character. There just wasn't time. You know, you can't have it for all. And also maybe I missed it. The samurai girl that shows up late.
Oh yeah, Katana.
Katana, yeah.
She was pretty awesome.
So she was awesome too. And there was like she had the sword with the souls in it. There's a lot to tell in that story too. But that wouldn't fit with what they're doing as well. So there's room to expand. But I think they did a good job of focusing on Harley and Deadshot.
Yeah, I think when you have Margot Robbie and you have Will Smith,
obviously
the actor and actresses, right? So to that point, when I heard that Will Smith was going to be in this movie, this is something that we were talking about the other day. I kind of thought, oh, he's going to be in an ensemble movie. Like Will Smith doesn't seem like somebody to not headline something. You know what I mean? And I thought, okay, maybe he's at that point in his career where he's not acting as much and he just wants to be part of this movie. It looks like fun.
Yeah.
You know? But he was in it more than I expected, I guess. He was more of like a lead role. And I heard maybe there was some reshoots with that. I don't think that was a bad thing. No. I think he was excellent. I expected to go into this movie thinking, all right, Will Smith didn't ruin it or didn't like it. And I like Will Smith in everything. But I expected him to just kind of not detract from it. Him to be, okay, Deadshot's cool, you know? But he was actually one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. Like, he was funny, he was serious, his acting was really good, and the character was pretty cool.
Yeah. He was full on Mike Lowry from Bad Boys in this movie.
Yeah, yes, he was.
He was the wisecracking asshole. Like I don't know why I didn't fully expect it, but like from right away, he was like the leader of this movie. Like, obviously, you have Will Smith, you're going to use him. It's like you're not going to sit him on the bench. Yeah, and I don't know why I didn't think that way. I thought like you thought. I thought it was going to be more of an ensemble thing, but yeah, it was Will Smith's movie, and rightfully so. I feel like he's like he's the veteran of the crew. He can lead the way. He's obviously the best actor in there, and he took charge, and it was a good move to have.
He was probably, we talk about performances in a second, but he was probably my favorite character of the movie.
Yeah.
But when you were mentioning some of the other characters like Killer Croc and Katana, right? I kind of forgot about the little things, and I really liked the fact that she was in it. I liked her character, and they didn't do too much, understandably so, right?
Yeah.
But I liked some of that.
They dropped nuggets of it, and it had a role in the final battle too, her sword and all that. It made sense.
But looking back on it, you kind of look at it. Okay, and maybe it's the last gulp is if it's the worst taste, you don't remember how good the rest of the beer was.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You just remember that warm beer, that last sip.
Yeah,
it's there was a lot of really good stuff in the beginning.
What if the movie cut off with 15 minutes to go, and it's you're mad because the movie stopped,
but it was probably the best thing that could have happened.
You had to review only the first, hour and a half. You'd have been like, man, that's a great movie.
I mean,
and the ending shouldn't sour it, but it does knock off the score a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Take the best beer you ever had in your life.
Yeah.
Take the best beer you ever had in your life. It's the hottest day ever. You got the most refreshing beer ever.
Yeah.
It's
it's a Bud Light Lime.
It's a Bud Light Lime, right? Yeah. So call it a Bud Light. That's what this movie is. It's a Bud Light Lime.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not great by any means.
Yeah.
Some people may say it tastes like dish soap.
Yeah, but you can't forget the good sips.
That's what I mean.
When the last gulp is bad, don't forget the good sips.
That's what I'm saying. You're outside. It's the just dead ass of summer. It's 95 degrees, 80% humidity. You're outside. You're sweating.
Yeah.
You get that Bud Light Lime, and it's you don't expect, this crazy good beer, but you get it and it's refreshing, right?
Yeah.
That's what this movie is. And then, but you left it out just a little bit too long. You went to grill.
Yep.
You're grilling and you left it next to the grill.
Long.
And you got 2 sips left.
Yep.
You have that and it's I don't know about that.
Should have just dumped it.
Maybe you should have dumped the last.
I like it too. I'm thinking about a show that is built on flashbacks like this movie, Lost. If Lost was a movie, you would bash the ending.
Oh, that would get a 10% on Rotten
But the
Tomatoes.
first 3 quarters are oh man, this is the greatest movie.
Yeah.
It's so great. All these characters developed well.
And I think that's a good analogy though. And coming back to it, I don't think the ending ruined the movie by any means. I don't think it ruined it at all. But it definitely wasn't as strong as it could have been. If it had a little bit of a stronger, maybe a villain or whatever, like we said, it would have helped the movie. Whereas it didn't hurt it. It just did nothing for it. So we talked about some of the characters. Who was your favorite squad member?
It's tough.
I'm not talking about acting performance. Who was just your favorite? Overall.
Yeah, it might have been Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Honestly. I think she was the most fun, and her, as short as they were, her interactions and dynamic with the Joker were great. And I wish there was a full movie devoted to that.
So you want to see the prequel of where all those scenes came from? You want to see a Joker and Harley Quinn just straight up movie?
Yes, and I don't even need Batman trying to chase him. Or maybe Batman trying to catch them is you do the inverse of a superhero movie, where you do a villain movie.
Yes. Where
they're working to get away with something, and you see everything from their point of view, and then Batman comes and ruins their shit every 20 minutes.
You should
right?
watch Assault on Arkham, the animated movie.
Yeah.
So I was expecting something very similar to that. There's an animated film in the DC universe that they're all really good, by the way. They're all PG-13 or higher.
Yeah.
Assault on Arkham is sort of like that.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of Batman in this movie, and it was kind of cool to see from their perspective, but it wasn't as intense as it could have been.
Yeah, I think they laid off on purpose. Yeah, the Batman.
But let's say you could have seen Deadshot pulling a job, and Batman shows up and gets him. Because I read some pre-reviews that said you get to see what it's like being a villain, seeing Batman from their perspective, knowing that you're just terrorized by him. Yeah. And the Assault on Arkham movie is very similar to that.
That's
he's getting them.
That's what I'm saying. I would like it from the Joker's point of view, a movie where it's their point of view, and they're trying to do something. Batman just ruins their shit. He ruins their day, and then they get away. And instead of going back to the Batcave and trying to figure out where the Joker is, you go back to Joker's lair and they try to plan against Batman, that kind of thing. Where it's almost like Batman's the villain, even though Batman should win in the end and will. It's almost like that. That's what I would like to see. But getting back to the question, not to diverge too far, I would go Harley Quinn.
You say Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, without going Deadshot
close second. But
yeah, I would say Deadshot is probably my number 1, but it's almost obvious. Yeah. I'd say Harley Quinn is probably number 2, but I stupidly enjoyed Jay Hernandez. I thought he was awesome.
No,
like,
he was great. I thought he was the best actor. Like, he did the best acting job because Will Smith, his role wasn't that hard. I mean,
right.
And especially with him, it's like everything looks easy to him. It's like Jay Hernandez was kind of like the underdog that you didn't expect to have that much have a meaty role like that, like an emotional meaty, not like screen chewing time. But when he was on there, it was always emotional.
So what'd you think? So best performance then you'd give Jay Hernandez.
I'd give Jay Hernandez the best performance, yeah.
What about, let's throw out this guy. What about Joel Kinnaman, the guy who played Rick Flag? And I want to talk about this for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Originally, Mr. Tom Hardy was cast in that specific role, Rick Flag.
Yeah.
So Tom Hardy was supposed to be in that, had to back out due to conflicts with shooting schedule for The Revenant, and I think he was promoting another movie at the time.
Very Vinny Chase of him, yeah.
It's hard to go back in time and say, what if Nicolas Cage was in Forrest Gump? How different would it have been? Yeah. You know, like what if, you know what I'm saying?
Let's all take a minute and picture Nicolas Cage as Forrest Gump.
That's what I'm saying. Like, would it have been a better movie? You know, what would it have been, right?
Yeah,
can you take Nicolas Cage, put him in Forrest Gump? Let's do that. Take Tom Hardy, put him in the role of Rick Flag. Now, kind of what you said about another guy, Kinnaman didn't get in the way.
Yeah.
He was all right. He wasn't a bad actor. I liked him in RoboCop, the remake, the PG-13 RoboCop.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. What does this movie turn into if Tom Hardy's in it?
I think the role is different because I felt Kinnaman was very like blah,
and he was just there.
I don't fault him for it. It wasn't necessary. He shouldn't have had, because he's not going to have a bigger personality than these villains. Because the part of the villain shtick is their personalities, right? They're
yes,
bombastic personalities. So he is supposed to be the understated, hey, fall in line or I'm going to smack you type thing. It's almost like the parrot, right?
Yeah, he's the leader.
So he didn't get in the way. But if it were Tom Hardy, I mean, Tom Hardy's like, it's like bringing any better. It's like, oh, I'm going to take away this shooting guard who's not very good and replace him with Michael Jordan. Is your team better?
Right.
Yeah, your team's better. It's like if you put Tom Hardy in for Joel Kinnaman, it's like replacing a good starter with a Hall of Famer. You know?
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
And I feel like the role would have been, they would have featured him more. Maybe they would have given meatier stuff, like meatier emotion.
Maybe the love story would have had a little bit more weight to it.
Maybe.
Because Hardy's a little bit better of an actor.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, I would have obviously loved to see him in it, but I didn't think Kinnaman was bad. He was better than I expected. Like,
yeah, I don't think he was bad. I just think that he was just there.
He was all right.
Somebody had to do it, and he was there. Yeah.
Speaking of performances, let's get back to Jared, the 30 Seconds to Mars frontman,
the Joker,
Leto.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Jared Leto for a second. Obviously, we're big fans of Jared Leto on this show.
Yeah.
In the movie, I enjoyed him. You said you enjoyed him?
Absolutely, yeah.
What'd you think of the look now that you saw it in action?
I loved it.
So you thought it fit in the world
Absolutely.
of these dirtbags?
Absolutely fit. Like the style of all of the Suicide Squad members and the kind of trashy, dumpy look of the whole movie. I say that in a good way.
It did.
Not like it looked bad.
The whole movie looked like a meth lab.
Yeah, exactly.
It really did.
So you needed meth lab Joker, or else it wouldn't fit. If you gave Jack Nicholson Joker, or even
Jack Nicholson Joker's like Goodfellas Joker.
Yeah.
Like this is like Breaking Bad Joker.
Yeah, or even like even Heath Ledger Joker. It's still too classy.
Yeah,
like the Joker always has like an air of class to him. Even though, you know what I mean?
He's got the suit.
Yeah,
he's got the jokes.
It looks like he's well kept besides his hair and his face. Like it's like he's all put together.
Yeah.
Like this Joker looks like he's a scumbag gangster boss, right?
Right.
He looks like he's like a mafia scumbag.
He looks like he's
right.
A mafia scumbag. Yeah. He looks like Alpha Dog. Like what's
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. No. You know what's interesting about this look, and I'm gonna talk this out. I haven't thought through this yet, so tell me if I'm wrong.
Careful now.
Jack Nicholson Joker. He seemed very calculated.
Yeah.
Right. And he seemed very calculated. You know, animated series Joker seemed a little insane. Heath Ledger Joker, he made me uncomfortable because you didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you kind of felt like you knew what he was going to do. Like he's irrational. He's a little crazy. He's trying to get you to be crazy.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword with Heath Ledger Joker because he didn't know what he was going to do, but at the same time, he knew exactly what he was going to do.
This dude, I get the impression like I was very uneasy every time he was on screen because he reminded me of what it would be like to hang out with a meth dealer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
it made it seem like everyone he was in the scene with, it looked like he could pull a gun and shoot him in the head at any time. That kind of thing where it's like you don't like he could just dispose of you at any second.
Yeah.
For no reason.
And I know that Heath Ledger Joker did that too, so maybe I need to go back and watch The Dark Knight for the 1000th time, but
yeah.
It just was a different vibe, you know what I'm saying?
I think the Heath Ledger Joker always did it to prove a point.
Yeah, and this guy just seemed like I don't know, the way that Leto kind of portrayed him, it just seemed like he was off the edges, like off the kilter, like just so weird and crazy that he would do anything at any time. And again, in that Collider article I was talking about, they mentioned a few situations where originally he pushes Harley Quinn out of the helicopter instead of trying to save her. Yeah. There's like a whole thing about how it was more of like an abusive relationship, more so than the loving relationship that they portrayed through the movie. Like he just has to have her. He has to get back with her.
Yeah, but isn't that the story of their relationship though? It's abusive and it's loving and it's abusive. And I mean, that's how she came to be with him.
Right.
Yeah.
So you liked the look of him. What'd you think of like the gold chains?
Gold chains, the flashy gold suit, all that, the tattoos. I liked it. Like it fit the movie. Whether or not you agree that that's the way the Joker should look, you have to admit that it fits the movie, right?
Right. And that's the thing. I wonder if people are wondering, like, is he going to look like that? Let's say he shows up in Justice League, the movie.
Yeah.
The Zack Snyder movie, not the David Ayer movie. And David Ayer wrote, directed this, kind of picked the look for a lot of these things. I'm sure that the rest of these guys were consulted. Is he going to show up in the other movie looking like this?
If it's Jared Leto, you have to. Wouldn't it be weird?
What'd you think of his performance?
Oh yeah, I thought it was great. I feel like I'd have to see it again. You know, honestly, he was kind of like quietly chaotic, more so than like in your face. Like he was almost like slithery and snake-like.
Yeah,
you know, and like you said, like he was terrifying. Just like kind of the way like he was kind of fidgety. And not fidgety the way that Lex Luthor was fidgety in BVS, but he was kind of like he was always moving his neck, moving his head back and forth. He seemed in his own head the entire time. It seemed like he was actually hearing voices. That's what it looked like to me, even when he wasn't saying anything.
You know what's interesting? I mentioned it a little bit a few minutes ago, but watching Heath Ledger's Joker, obviously you can't even put them on the same level because Heath Ledger won an Oscar and he was one of the greatest performances of all time, right? Yeah. Of any superhero movie, whatever. Having said that, looking at the movie, I got a feeling from Jared Leto, and go with me on this for a second.
Yeah.
I got a feeling more like Breaking Bad. Like I felt skeeved out with him. I felt a little uneasy with Heath Ledger, and again, it was a much better performance, or a different performance, right? It's a different style. Right. But I felt like when I was watching Breaking Bad, where you feel like this could be your neighbor down the street.
Yeah.
Like I know he has neon green hair and all this stuff, but like, you know, the meth lab in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
Like this guy could be in there. Yeah. He could be in there.
People are neighbors with like meth dealers and mob bosses and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like this guy could be cooking meth in your neighbor's basement.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and he's got guns. He's got gold chains, acting like a gangster. That's what they said. Like,
he was more humanized.
Yes.
Whereas this guy could walk down the street and you're like, oh man, that guy is bad news. But like you wouldn't see Heath Ledger's Joker walking down the street.
Yeah. Right? It was more of it was a more fantastical character, even though it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't describe it because I think you could argue the opposite too, but I just got the feeling that this Joker he could be your neighbor, like in a bad section of town or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just, it's hard to articulate what I'm saying. I haven't really thought that through.
And he, like every scene, there was a certain amount of like passion or emotion with him, but that was probably due to the fact that you are seeing scenes where he's involved with Harley Quinn or he's trying to get Harley Quinn. Whereas in every other iteration of, you know, the Joker in cinema anyway, he doesn't have that love interest, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have like his, you know.
It's always him kind of on his own.
Yeah.
Just for the chaos.
Right. So there was a little bit more at stake for him personally, other than just I'm going to set the world on fire. So before we get off the topic, I never got the question out back to you. Like you being the lover of DC and Batman in particular, what did you think of the Joker? What did you think of his performance? His look and all that.
I think that Heath Ledger was better, like in a different way, but I liked it. I did like it. I didn't think it was bad.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would say that it's better than Heath Ledger.
Put it this way, I want to see more of it.
Yeah.
I want to see more of it. Like my ideal scenario is watching a solo Batman movie where it's those two together with Ben Affleck, because I'd love to see the dynamic and in like a more grounded And when I say grounded, I mean like not straight up action movie. Like the rumors are that the Ben Affleck solo movie that's coming out that he's co-writing with Jeff Johns, is supposed to be something that deals with maybe him in Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
I would love to see like the original Arkham Asylum game. You know how like Joker kind of like hijacks everything. Like I would love to see a movie where Ben Affleck is being a detective Batman in Arkham Asylum, like kind of having to use detective skills, kind of like sneaking around like Metal Gear Solid style, like against the henchmen and stuff. That would be like kind of my dream scenario
with the
for the next
Joker
Batman
part of the
movie.
show.
Yeah, and not Heath Ledger, excuse me, Jared Leto kind of pulling the strings from inside the asylum. I don't know. It would be really interesting to see that, and it would be a different type of movie than what we've seen in the past.
I think people are going to really hit it off with this Margot Robbie character with Harley Quinn.
She was great.
And I feel like if she wasn't in the plans to be in future movies, I feel like they're going to try to make it be so.
She was great. And
I think that she really hit the character pretty good, and I feel like they're going to be forced to make her a part of any future movies involving Batman, at least Batman.
You know, one thing I'd like to say, though, that I almost feel is unfair, when people say Leto was bad.
Yeah.
There's a rumor that a lot of his scenes were cut from the movie, and he visibly upset.
Yeah, he rallied out against it.
He was visibly upset about it, you know, and that sucks because we know this dude like went straight up method acting, sending rats to people, used prophylactics.
We could argue whether or not that's actually necessary.
I mean that's on him. You might be this might be a dick.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, you know, when you work a little too hard at your job.
If I was an actor, I'd probably hate Jared Leto.
Right, but like having said that though, let's say you poured your heart and soul into something, and then somebody showed like an eighth of what you did, and they're judging you on it, saying, "Oh, he sucks." You know, he's probably thinking, "Man, my best scene was the one that was this one, or whatever." And he really did put his heart and soul into it. Like, you can't deny that. You know what I mean? Whether you like the movie or not, you know that he tried his hardest. Yeah, well, and I kind of feel bad that he didn't get a chance to like show that.
Every actor gets scenes cut. I mean, Johnny Drama went whole movies with the scenes getting cut. It happens.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is, wasn't he cut from Eddie In? Or no, he was in the one last scene where he was like, he said something in Spanish.
Yeah.
No, but I guess what I'm saying is like, he's not a main character. So it's like if Johnny Drama got cut from Hyde. You know what I mean? Like he got completely cut. He's like a side character or supporting actor.
Which they tried to do.
I mean, you know what I mean though? It's like,
he already knew that he was going to be in less than half of the movie. So yeah,
I mean, he's too busy being a rock star. Yeah. So you mentioned that you'd like to see a Deadshot or a Harley Quinn movie, solo movie. Is there anybody else that you'd like to see from this? Any other aspect of the characters from the squad? Maybe something different?
I'll tell you probably no, honestly.
Yeah, you don't want to see an El Diablo movie?
No, because as I like the character, I don't think he can carry 90 minutes, and neither can Croc.
No Killer Croc?
Neither can Boomerang, especially the Boomerang can't carry 90 minutes.
Having said, talk about Jai Courtney for a second here.
Yeah.
People shit all over this dude's life.
Why?
I don't know why. He's like the
Boomerang or just in general?
Just him in general, right? Like him as an actor. Like, oh, he's so uninspiring. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't name a million things that he's been in. I could say the Terminator. Genesis. And what's the other one that he was in? Die Another Day or Live Free and Die Hard?
Yeah, Die Hard. Yeah, he was in
whichever
the
Die Hard was.
The last Die Hard.
The Russia one.
Yeah.
He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad.
Yeah.
This, I kind of wish he was in a little more. I thought he was pretty funny, and I like the character of Boomerang. Yeah. Like, he was pretty funny.
I think a little more would have been too much. I feel like, you know, you got to kind of, he's the comedic effect. You kind of got to pepper him in and pick your spots. Right? But no, what do you think? Because I say no. I think really Deadshot and Margot, and maybe that's just because the star power of the two characters, that's really it.
I'd love to see a Deadshot movie. I think Will Smith would kill it in it, and I kind of hope they do that. And I'd love to see a Joker Harley Quinn movie or something where Harley Quinn plays a bigger role. I thought Margot Robbie was phenomenal. I thought she was great. I mean, she's not going to win an Oscar from the performance, but for the character that she played, I think she did it justice. I was a huge fan of the animated series. I liked her.
She got I Look Crazy on facial expressions down pat.
Yeah, and I mean, people said it was a little, it's too misogynist, right? She's in little shorts. I mean, that's the character. That is what the character is.
Pretty sure she wears those kinds of things, you know, from time to time. If it's not that, then it's a skin-tight jumpsuit. So right. What's the difference? What are we talking about here?
I mean, it's not like she's going to sit there like Katherine Heigl and be mad that she was in Knocked Up and then be mad at the role. It's like, you did the movie.
He gave me these shorts and there was a wedgie and I was uncomfortable the whole time and I was totally embarrassed. No, she's not going to say that.
I liked her performance. I thought she was really good. She's probably one of the better actresses in the movie itself. So I didn't get a chance to say who my best performance was. I want to go back to that for 1 second.
Yeah.
I thought Viola Davis was phenomenal.
Yeah, she was pretty icy, right?
She was awesome, man.
She was scary.
You know, in the animated movies, usually the person that does the voice for Amanda Waller is CCH Pounder.
Yeah.
The DA from Sons of Anarchy.
She's the DA of every movie and TV show ever.
She's very stocky. Like, she's got the build of Amanda Waller. I thought Viola Davis was awesome in this movie. Like, she had the cold and calculated look. She did such a good job with, like, her expressions, the way that she acted. And the character of Amanda Waller, nicknamed The Wall, that's her nickname. Like, she is brutal, and I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, no, yeah, she was definitely like scary and commanding. Like, she was like I said at the top, she was like a villain in her own right. She was definitely the one to be the boss of all these characters.
And that's the cool thing I think about Suicide Squad. It's like, it's a gray area. Like, is she good? Is she bad? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, she got the project in one of the scenes. She got the project greenlit by like just like showing the voodoo magic of what's her face. So she kind of like strong armed the boardroom with like, you have to agree with me because I can look at this. I gave you all these weapons plans because I have this person that can teleport. Right?
Yeah. So there was a few tie-ins to some of the other movies. We touched on them a little bit. The Batman piece. If you haven't seen it, again, spoiler alert, The Flash capturing Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, that's like, he was in there for like 10 seconds.
Right. But the cool thing, so for me as a super fan, right, of the DC characters, I've always grown up loving these guys. It was really cool to see that on the screen. What I like about some of the Marvel movies is that, or actually all of the Marvel movies, is how they have like little cameos in each other's movies. I know it gets a little overwhelming for some people if you have to watch all these, but from a cameo standpoint, this is one of the first ones where it wasn't Bruce Wayne watching YouTube, as one of the reviews said. It was kind of cool the way that they did it, and it was a reminder like, oh yeah, Batman's in this too, or in this universe. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Flash is here. I like that.
I might not agree with you.
You don't like it?
That. Not that I didn't like it, but I thought it was a little unnecessary. It's very fan servicey.
Yeah, but that's what they do.
Speaking to you, I mean, obviously that's who they're aiming it towards.
I was
right?
serviced.
Yeah,
you
were serviced very well.
I was very serviced.
The couple shots of Batman, like I like. Well, Bruce Wayne had a conversation with Amanda Waller, like
at the end there,
right? And like that makes sense, right? As far as like talking about Justice League versus Suicide Squad, but like Batman jumping in and taking out Deadshot, Batman versus Deadpool would be a good movie.
That would be pretty good, actually.
Flash taking out Boomerang. It's like. It's kind of like not necessary. Didn't have to show him getting caught. Not totally necessary.
They do it. You know, they got it.
Like we know why Deadshot was how he was captured. It wasn't Lou down to the police station got him and handcuffed him, right? Come on, we know who got him.
Detective Lou.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was cool though. I don't know. Personally, I thought it was neat. If they start doing that in every movie, is it going to be awesome? I don't know.
Yeah.
They might do it, but the Marvel movies do it, and I think they do it well. I don't know.
I thought it was just fan servicey. I thought it was a little. Didn't have to.
What was that?
It's an excuse to get Affleck in the Batsuit.
What was that review that you saw? What did they say? It was like, you'll love this movie if you loved watching Bruce Wayne watch YouTube in Batman versus Superman.
Which was kind of the first third of the movie. Was all like the intros was kind of it.
Yeah, but
and the shots of the guys getting captured, but not as blatant as that.
I don't know. See, listen, I'm not a screenwriter, and I was in the business when I used to work at the movie theater. That was part of the business.
Sure.
But I don't know how else you would do it. And that's kind of what I'm getting at as we start to wrap the show up. Like, I'm not sure I could have done it better. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I would have done it, but I would just not have had those scenes, but that's fine. That's fine.
I'm saying the overall movie, like the intros and all that stuff.
The movie was fine. There was no better way because these weren't common characters. Like, even Deadshot and Harley Quinn, like, you may have heard of Harley Quinn, you may have heard of Deadshot, but you don't know who they are.
They're not headlining a movie.
You needed those 5-minute segments to get to know them.
Yeah.
And especially like they gave you the extended look of Harley Quinn and Deadshot as well, maybe less or so, of like her interactions with the Joker, and it kind of like hammered home the fact that what kind of like messed up relationship they have.
Yeah.
So that was totally necessary.
So having said all of that, as we start to wrap it up, I want to ask you, like, if you had to give this film a score, we don't usually score things on this show.
We're not reviewers.
We're commentators.
Yeah.
But if you had to score it, if somebody said, hey, Deadshot's got his gun pointed at your head. He's all the way over there. He's got a mirror that's going to, like...
I could make a miss, though, right?
Deflect the bullet. That's a question for you. Could you outrun... Could you...
What if you, like, unexpectedly just hit the ground, right?
Like he's already planning for that though.
No, he's not.
He's planning for it.
Because what if I just start rolling around like a monkey? Like, was he going to plan for that?
I don't know.
Like, what if I just like started running every once in a while? Like, I'll just hit the ground and roll, and then I'll get up and I'll roll again.
Like a hamster style guy from Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Like the guy's just crawling on the ground.
Just saying, it could happen.
No. I don't know if you could make a miss. I don't. Think
I could like anticipate his shot. Like, I'd have to time it perfectly, and it'd have to be luck. But I think I could if I just dropped. Like he might I'll drop when he shoots.
But what if the bullet? I feel like he would have some type of remote control in the bullet that will just let it drop too. That's what he does, man. He just does that.
I don't think I'm disrespecting Deadshot's skills.
Well, let's say that he does. He's got it, and he's not gonna miss.
All right.
You have to give it a score. What are you going?
What am I like? A through A B C D F.
All right, I'll give you choices. You could go A through F.
Yeah.
With minuses.
Can I give it an E?
You cannot give it an
E for everyone.
No, like the MP.
Why did they skip
video game
E?
ones?
Like I know this is like a Seinfeld bit, but like why do they skip E? Why do they go right to F?
That is a good question.
Does F sound more hardcore?
F means
you got an F
because it's FU. That's
you
why
failed. Like D doesn't mean decent. Like A B C D does not have like a saying. Is F for failure?
What if that's what it was? What if F was failure and there was no A through D? And then it was like you only got F, and it was like then they're like, oh, we better like say he did a really good job. Okay, let's go A because it's the first letter.
A was awesome or admirable. B is all right. We're not playing this game.
Kind of bullshit.
Forget it.
No.
All right. So
get A through F or 1 to 10, 1 to 5. What do you want to do?
1 to 100.
All right, you go 1 to 100.
1 to 105 with extra credit.
So what gets a 105?
No. I don't even know what movie gets a 105.
Departed.
Inglourious Bastards.
Departed is 105.
Gets a 105.
Yeah. But 1 to 100. Give this movie a score.
76.
Yeah. See, I was going to say 7 out of 10, but if you've given me 100, I'm going to say 78.
78. Of course you're going to go higher than I am.
78. $1, Bob.
You're like Price is Right over here.
No, I would say I would say around there, like 75.
76, and it lost a lot of points at the end.
Yeah. Like up until then, it was maybe like an 80.
It was a solid 84.
Okay.
Until the end. Yeah.
I don't know if this 100-point scale
It makes sense. There should not be a 1 to 10. It shouldn't be A through F. It should be 100. Gives you a lot of wiggle room. Yeah,
because you get like the decimals.
Yeah. Nobody wants 7, even though 7.7 is the same thing as a 77. It's the same thing.
So, some people don't handle decimals very well.
It sounds better.
I would say about where you're at. I'd say like 76, 78, anywhere like kind of in that range.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good movie with some flaws. I thought the ending was a little weak. I thought the villain was kind of weak, but I love the cast. I love the actors. I love the chemistry between the actors. I thought the story just generally was pretty cool. Again, it lost some points in the end, like you said, lost some points with the final villain, but I like the casting. I like the use of some of the cameos. I like the Joker. I like the way that the Joker was an intertwined story. There was a lot that I liked. There wasn't a lot that I disliked, but I also didn't love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would watch this anytime it's on. I'll probably buy it if I were to buy a movie. This isn't like the candidate where I think I would buy it.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd be fun to rewatch, but it'll probably be on TV at some point. It'll be on HBO.
If you're giving a movie an arbitrary score in the 70s, it basically means that it's a flawed but fun movie.
Right. And I don't expect anything else other than that. I'm not expecting an Oscar from this movie. I'm not expecting any type of critical acclaim outside the fact that it's kind of like Bloodsport. It's not a great movie, but I love it.
If you're comparing any movie to Bloodsport, like you're a good company if you're being compared to Bloodsport.
That's what I'm saying.
On our show anyway.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I mean. Like Bloodsport is like The Departed on our show. And maybe this isn't there.
Bloodsport is The Departed of
action movies?
batshit ridiculous action movies.
Yeah. And this is more like Sudden Death.
Yeah.
It's a very fun movie. And
I think that might be a little bit disrespectful. I don't know. Sudden Death has like some detractors. I don't know.
Well, I'm saying on this show.
Yeah, on the show.
Compared to this show, right?
You're saying The Departed is number one. It's more like Marked for Death.
Okay, Marked for Death. I could go with that. It's not like Out for Justice.
I don't know. No. Wait, is Marked for Death higher or lower than Bloodsport on the last row scale?
I say...
That's like a tough battle.
Van Damme versus Seagal? I gotta go Bloodsport higher, man.
No, Marked for Death's better.
It's a better movie, but Bloodsport I like better.
You might be more of a Van Damme fan, and I might be more of a Seagal fan. That could just be personal preference.
I think Marked for Death is a better movie.
Yeah,
but clearly. Bloodsport is more fun.
More fun.
So here you go.
I got the Jamaicans.
Let me tell you. You're right. So I'll say Bloodsport is this movie. Yeah. Bloodsport is Suicide Squad.
Okay.
And Marked for Death is Batman v Superman. Like it's a better movie.
I guess if we're going DC Universe,
You know
if
what I'm
we're
saying?
comparing them, yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Although I would watch Marked for Death over Batman vs. Superman or Suicide Squad.
Listen, I love these movies, and I probably would too because I love Marked for Death. That shows you what style of
if
movies
we're
we
ranking
like
all
here.
the movies in the world, I would probably put Marked for Death above both of them. And that's not a knock on any of those movies.
It's just
that's just the way it is.
Like we have our scale, right?
Keep
It's
it
like
real.
rewatchability, like all this ridiculousness too.
Yeah.
So
just keep it real.
I
One
love
day
that.
we should just rank all the movies ever.
We're gonna
We'll
add
see where
some on
Marked
our
for Death
list.
ends up.
Yeah, we'll add them.
Suicide Squad might end up at around like 102. But like you think about all the movies, that's not so bad.
No, it's not. I mean, if you talk about every movie ever made,
I'm putting it above Godfather too. So that's, we're just gonna.
And on that note,
Because I haven't seen it. How am I supposed to rank it better if I haven't seen it?
I think we need to watch it. We need to sit down and watch the Godfather epic.
No, I can't do it.
It's like 8 hours.
It's
isn't it?
out of spite to some friends I made 20 years ago. I'm not watching
You'll
The
never
Godfather.
watch it?
Not watching it.
What if you're missing out on The
Don't
Departed?
care if it's great.
What if
Probably
somebody
is.
said, "Hey, I'm not watching The Departed.
No, you're crazy.
I'm not watching Marked for Death."
Well, I can see. I'm not going to be a bully. If you don't want to watch it, that's on you. Just like it's on me that I'm not watching Godfather.
So people say to you, "You've never seen The Godfather?"
Yeah, I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
And it happens so much that I'm like, screw it, I'm not watching it. And it doesn't matter anymore. This conversation was over
The ship has sailed.
15 years ago. Like, they stopped ragging me about it.
If you want Badway to watch The Godfather, he's on Twitter at HeyBadway.
You want to tack 5 more years on to the moratorium? Then go right ahead. I would probably love it, too.
I'm sure you would.
I love mafia movies.
You love mafia movies.
Goodfellas is like one of my top 10s.
It's not a scumbag
All time.
mafia movie like this. But
Goodfellas gets a 105.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
We have to do our list, but before we head out, we got a new iTunes review. Why don't you tell everybody who left us one?
UK Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
UK Lee.
Friend of the podcast, friend of our email inbox too.
I'm going to call him Uckley from here on out.
Uckley.
Uckley. He writes, "This is my new favorite podcast. These guys give me something to look forward to every week to help." Why can't I? Okay, I'm going to start over because I can't read. This is my new favorite podcast. He spelled favorite the English way too. I like it.
Because he's from the UK.
That's beautiful language. This is my new favorite podcast. These guys give me something to look forward to every week to help me get through my night shifts at work. Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you, Lee.
That's an awesome compliment. You know why? Because we talked about this before. I listen to podcasts sometimes at work, and so do you. And sometimes you look forward to something.
Yeah.
So for us to be some podcast that someone else looks forward to, that's a great honor, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
We talked about this before when we started this show. We thought maybe just our friends would listen, right?
Yep.
And somehow, other people heard about the show, and everyone that's written in and sent us kind words, everyone that sent us an iTunes review, like I wish I could send you a personal letter because honestly, it means so much that you guys took 5 minutes to write that review. It really does mean a lot to us. And the fact that somebody looks forward to our show makes me feel really good, and it gives us a lot of energy to kind of keep doing the show.
Tell you what, if we keep going any further, they're going to stop listening. So let's wrap it up.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, all right. So anyway, thanks, Lee, for leaving us the podcast review on iTunes. If you guys have not had the chance to leave us a review on iTunes, go on out, search for The Last Row Podcast, leave us a 5-star review, tell us what you like about the show. We really appreciate it. We'll thank you on the show like we did to everyone else that's done so. Thank you so much to everybody. If you want to write us an email, thelastrowpodcast@gmail.com. I know Lee's wrote us a few emails. We write back to you guys on Twitter at The Last Row Pod, Google+. We're also on Google Play. Wherever you guys want to search for us, go to Google, search The Last Row Podcast, and we will come up. We're going to be doing this next week too, so we'll see you guys next week.
So, El Diablo, right? Do his farts automatically light on fire?
Were you
Can he control that?
Were you saving that for the
I just thought of it right now.